Docker has some limitations, like it has a dynamic IP address and confined to a host, meaning communication between two different Docker containers running on two different hosts is not possible. And this is where Kubernetes comes into picture, and it provides facilities for self-healing, auto-scaling, and inter-host communication for Docker containers. What is difference between Docker and Kubernetes? Can I just use Docker or just Kubernetes? And in our certified Kubernetes administrator training, why do we cover both Docker and Kubernetes? I'm going to cover all this in today's episode. Welcome to another episode of weekly video series with me, Atul Kumar from team K2 Academy, where we help you in your journey to cloud and cloud native applications, including Docker and Kubernetes, from complete beginners to expert, and you learn from experts. So to give you some context, we have a popular training on Docker and Kubernetes with step-by-step framework with 16 modules, 60 plus lessons, 33 plus hands-on, and the most important one is 1 year on-job support. So in this training, and we also have a free training that we have for Docker and Kubernetes beginners. So towards end of this episode, I'll tell you how you can get hold of this approximately 2 hours free training. In both of these, the most common question we get is, what is difference between Docker and Kubernetes? I get questions almost on a daily basis like, Yatul, you said that Docker containers are one where applications run, so why do I need Kubernetes? Or why do I see so many jobs all talking about Kubernetes? So I took a clip from our certified Kubernetes administrator training where our trainer Mamta explains the problem that Kubernetes solve. So she first started with the limitations that Docker has, like dynamic IP addresses that changes every time your container restarts. And the other challenge is that two Docker containers running on two different machines can't talk to each other. She then talks about the Kubernetes that acts like a orchestration and management layer, managing multiple Docker containers running on different hosts using Kubernetes. And in Kubernetes, there is a concept of service that acts as an endpoint to the client. So whenever a Docker reboots and IP change, the service will automatically map it to the new IP, meaning client will still connect to the same old IP represented by service. There is another component in Kubernetes master node that's called as deployment, which is a type of a controller, and that container manages replicas of a worker node and dynamically scale up or scale down these containers. So let's see what Mamta has to say.
So we had a few limitations with Docker, which was it had a dynamic IP address. As someone asked, yes, on restart, the IP address changes and it's not static. So just imagine I have a front end and a back end container. If this restarts and it loses its IP address, we struggle with that, right? So this was one of the pain points. Then we didn't had we had an ephemeral storage. We didn't had a persistent storage, but in containers world, you can still go ahead and attach a volume and have the persistency. But the biggest limitation was Docker was confined to a host. That means if I am talking to containers, I have just plain Docker. I can only connect like this. I can't go this way. And to go this way, because these guys are hosted on one bridge and they can identify each other inside this, and going out is not possible connecting to the other container on another machine. So Docker had a limitation. Now in our projects, do you think on a single host we would confine? No, someone mentioned that this would be the single point of failure. Even the VM or the hardware or the physical server can be the one point of failure. Plus this Docker daemon, which is running the Dockerd, it is called as Dockerd. That is also a single point of failure. If this is not running, all containers have gone, right? So we would like to address this. And that is when the picture came. Like, just think that you have got a set of employees and you have started a startup and you just have 2 or 3 employees. You can manage them individually, right? It's not difficult to manage. But one time you grow to 50 and you are not confined to one office. Say you are running in multiple offices like this, and you would have to appoint an admin guy, a HR type of team over here and over here. So just think that these are the ones which are running on each of the offices, and someone is sitting outside and managing them so that they can manage these employees inside that. So same way, when we have a lot of containers in a virtual machine or a physical machine, wherever we are running our Docker, when they are huge, because Docker utilizes the resources to the utmost level, you can run on a 2 virtual CPU, 4 GB RAM, you can run around 20 to 30 containers at one point in time. So you can manage them on one machine, but you just imagine such 10 machines into 50, how much would that be? I have 500 containers, and if they don't retain their IP addresses, if I'm not able to bring them back to action, I have to manually go and restart them and make them work. If anything goes wrong, that is a painful point, right? It's a pain point for us. So what we would do exactly like this, we will have a master node, and that is where Kubernetes comes into picture. Kubernetes, also called as K8s, because there's 8 alphabets between them. It's normally addressed between as K8s. So Kubernetes comes as a management and an orchestration layer, and you use this when you have to manage a fleet of containers. And they became pretty famous in market so quick because people like the way containers were working with applications. They were very fast, they were so small in size, utilization was so nice, but managing them was a pain. And in one machine I could identify them, but when the communication across hosts had to happen, Docker had the limitation. It couldn't provide a overlay type of network for it to work. And when Kubernetes came into the market, Kubernetes told, I'll give you a master node and you can run your application containers on several worker nodes, and I'll have a admin type of tool or the application running inside that, which is called as kubelet. And this is the guy who is managing all the containers on behalf of Kubernetes on each of the nodes. So this is one office space for us. This is one office space, right? So that becomes one host, one host. Like that, I can have several hosts under one Kubernetes master, and I can manage thousands of containers with a single master. So master takes the responsibility. If one of the container goes down, it will spin that up automatically again. And this time, because IP address is not static, Kubernetes has a lot of other things in picture, which we can't cover in deep. It has something called a service, and to have a highly available running application, we have controllers like deployment, and their work is to keep everything ready, up and running, so that things are always self-healing ourselves in case we are running any of the applications. And you can also go and scale on demand. How we have virtual machines and we have auto scaling on top of it, same way you can have several containers, and if you want to increase the number of replicas, you can do with these sort of controllers. It will make sure that it will run, suppose you have configured 5 replicas, it will make sure that all 5 are up and running, and in case you fall down from 5 to 4, it will bring back the 5th one again, and you are always in the desired state. So if Kubernetes is not there, the self-healing, auto-scaling, inter-host communication, those things are not possible at all. And that is the reason we are not just confined to Docker, but Kubernetes doesn't have the intelligence to spin containers. It needs Docker here so that containers are created. These guys are just managers. They just manage the containers. So this comes with a management layer. In case containers are there, it will manage. In case containers are there, it will not manage. So we always learn Docker. We learn the basics. We learn the storage, how it is done. We learn the IP address, how it gets, because here also your container will get the IP address, but it would be wrapped up with something called a service, right? So we would understand the basic, and on top of it, we build up Kubernetes knowledge, and we understand when I have a fleet of containers, how do we manage that? So that is the role of Kubernetes, or I would say that is the power of Kubernetes. When you have huge set of containers, use this and it would run as smooth as any. Like, you never know if something has gone down. It doesn't give a trouble at all. And in case we are running these things in the cloud, how we have AKS, we have EKS, we have OKE, we have GKE on each of the big cloud providers. When you have this, they manage the master. They take away the management headache from you, and they say, spin up the worker nodes, and they will manage that, make sure that kubelet is always running, Docker is always running. You just take the headache of running these containers. So what you have to do, your work would be just to create image for your containers and then create a running container out of it.
Well, that was a clip from our step-by-step comprehensive Docker and Kubernetes certification training, where we cover both Docker and Kubernetes with 33 plus hands-on labs, including preparation for Kubernetes certification. And the most important is 1 year on-job support, where we go deep into these topics and see how these things work in a real. If you want to see why Docker and Kubernetes became so popular in last 5-6 years, and why you must learn Docker and Kubernetes and get certified, including what all things you must learn, things like the Docker architecture, storage and networking in Docker, including Docker images and Docker Compose. We're also going to look at Kubernetes architecture and pods and how to build a highly available and scalable application in Kubernetes, including what all hands-on lab you must do in order to clear your Kubernetes certification. I would like to invite you for a free approx 90-minute workshop with our Docker and Kubernetes expert. Then register at ketonacademy.com/Kubernetes02. The next batch of our comprehensive step-by-step program starts on 4th of July. So if you're watching this in future, we run these sessions 3 or 4 times in a year, and you have unlimited retakes, meaning you can attend these sessions again and again, as both Docker and Kubernetes are constantly evolving and we update our material as things changes. Remember, you also get 1 year on-job support, and labs and recording of sessions will be available on our portal. So you don't have to wait and you can start learning immediately. Well, that's me, Atul from Team Keton Academy, looking at Docker versus Kubernetes. I'll see you next week with another episode on Docker and Kubernetes. So stay tuned and keep learning.